Hey everybody, welcome to the Jump Seat. Today is Friday, October 2nd, and we are here today to, once again, Dave, welcome. How are you?
I'm great, John. Good to see you again.
Absolutely. Good to see you as well. We're here, for those joining for the first time, the Jump Seat. It's a weekly spotlight uh, featuring key industry insights, subject matter experts, and thought leadership on different topics in the fire service that are relevant to both you and your fire department. It's hosted by two Jump Seat firefighters, myself, John, and Dave here. And we're here for, I believe we are on number 24 today. So for those who don't know, we started this during the COVID when we were all shut down, and we've just kept it going as we've been bringing new guests and new topics in ever since. So it's been quite a season to explore new technologies and innovations. And today's number 24, and we're going to be talking of the same innovations and technologies making our fire service better. So, Dave, switching things up here, let's focus on happenings in the fire service. What do we got going on?
Yeah, there's a number of things going on in the fire service today. I just want to, acknowledge one thing that actually was kicking off literally at 3 o'clock, the same time we're kicking the show off here. And because of the COVID situation, they had to cancel the on-site presence of the National Fallen Firefighters annual memorial to pay tribute to those fallen firefighters in the last year. But they are doing it virtually. They are still doing some recognitions for the family, and they did kick off their Fallen Firefighters Weekend in Emmitsburg at the National Fallen Firefighter Academy here 3 minutes ago as we kicked off the show as well. So I know they're doing some stuff on their Facebook Live. So go check that out and give it a look. And obviously, John, we've taken some time to pay respects as incidents have happened here over the past 6 months, as we've been almost 6 months doing this. But this is a special thing with the National Fallen Firefighters and what they do, not only for remembrance and recognition of those who've lost their lives in this career and profession, but for the families as well. So give that a thought and a great look.
Yeah.
What else you got, John?
Yeah. So for those who don't know, this month of October is unique. It's Fire Prevention month where we focus on fire prevention, as well as Fire Prevention Week starting on the 6th. And just for the kiddos, we've got some stuff coming, especially next week. But I did want to share just a nice little resource. And we were joking here a few minutes ago about how sometimes firemen, we do this stuff for other kids and other schools and preschools and all these things. And sometimes we forget to go home and do it with our own family, because it's like we do it all the time. We live it, breathe, sleep. It's all the time. So here's a resource I was going to put up here on the screen for kiddos, for school teachers, for preschool. Yeah, the list goes on and on, but it's a great resource for the kiddos. Education is key in this topic, and this is a month we can focus and improve our ability as parents, teachers, all those things. So,
John, I think this is a great thing. And for those of you who aren't aware, 2020 this year is actually focused on cooking and kitchen safety specifically. And, I know for my department, I think in yours, we do some kind of educational interaction. In my department, we actually go out to the schools traditionally, but with COVID, it kind of changes the game. And this link to NFPA Kids on YouTube, I think it's a great resource for departments, not only to reach out and maybe utilize it as a remote educational tool for the fire service. And I also just want to throw out the U.S. Fire Administration has some stuff dedicated to, and the National Fire Academy has some stuff available for educational pieces throughout the month here that you can grab and share in social, as well as other educational pieces, as well as NFPA. I know has a lot of awesome documents as well.
Great. Yeah. Well, Dave, let's kick things into gear for number 24. So the story behind SAM. What do we got going on, and who do we have coming in today, Dave?
Yeah, so we've done we featured SAM systems, or some stuff around SAM, which is really one of the coolest innovations in our industry here in the last many years. And so we featured a few SAM systems. We've actually seen them in production. We've talked to a couple users, the guys in the greater St. Louis area that were using it, that were on a couple. But we've had some actual requests that said, how does SAM come to be? And so I think there's no better way to tell the story of what is SAM than the inventor himself. So today our guest is Mr. Jason Serrano. Jason, welcome to the Jump Seat, man.
Hey guys, thanks for the kind words.
So Jason, we've featured Sam a little bit here and there, and some people may have or may not have any idea about it. But before we get into Sam, tell us a little bit about your background, who you are, and how'd you get in the fire service?
It was a unique path. So I really grew up as a kid wanting to be an engineer. I didn't really know volunteer firefighting existed, and when I got into college, ran into a buddy of mine. He works at Creve Coeur Fire District. Saw him out one night and found out he was a volunteer fireman there in my college town, and so I went and signed up the next day and really fell in love with that. Finished my degree in mechanical engineering, and honestly, when it was time to leave school, I was shopping engineering jobs, but I couldn't leave the firehouse. I just really couldn't. And so I talked to my parents, and my father was really supportive, of me making the decisions. He's like, you got to follow what you love. So I gave up an engineering job and stayed as an EMT and made $6 an hour and got my medic license and moved up into the St. Louis area. And I've been a paramedic firefighter there since about '03.
Awesome. So, we've shown Sam, but really, what is SAM, and what does SAM stand for?
It stands for Simple Apparatus Management. So it's really just about calling it SAM. It's a good acronym for that. We really wanted the firefighters to feel like there's kind of an extra person there helping you, because that is one of the biggest parts of the system, is it's a force multiplier. So we don't want it to feel like it's some crazy computer behind the scene doing things that you don't understand. It's really something that does understand your fire ground and is there to help you. So it's called anthropomorphology. I may or may not said that wrong, but you guys can look that up sometime.
Well, so I know I have the privilege of working with you on a more regular basis. I know a lot of the story, and as well as John. But for those listeners that are actually out there, why did you invent SAM? What was the purpose?
Why? So honestly, I didn't have the intention to get into business or develop anything. I was just on a particular fire call where the pump panel was on the opposite side of the fire, and the lack of visibility, it didn't really cause any issues on that particular fire ground, but it's just an extended period of time before the guys were calling for water. And I was sick of running around the fire truck, checking to see what's going on the other side. If you're a truck operator, you live like this with your ear to your mic, worried that you're going to miss a call for water. A lot of that's alleviated when you can see things. So that was kind of the initial drive. Initially, the thought was, let's just shrink the pump panel down and make it digital so that you could easily put one on both sides. Honestly, the firefighter in me, though, I didn't like that. I tried it. I spent, honestly, a lot of time trying, like, how is this going to look on a small screen? And once my mechanical engineering kicked in, I realized, well, once all the stuff is there on a digital screen, you can start to do things for yourself. So we went from a multiple pumping location to really just an integrated solution that automates the pump panel, which will ultimately save time on the fire ground, eliminate, people errors. It pulls the operator away from the truck so they can go focus on people and live events on the fire ground. And that, once I hit that was when I was like, wow, we can do a lot of stuff with this. And what even pushed me further was, once that platform is on your fire truck, you can start growing. Right? It was initially just a fancy top mount solution, right? But what really drove me to the next level, what gave me the passion and the drive and the ability to take the risk, was the automation and getting the smarts on the fire truck, because now we can do data collection, we can do better pressure management, we can do auto drafting. It becomes a force multiplier. These are all things that have never existed in the fire service. It's never been an option, and that's what makes this system truly unique to the fire service.
Well, and when you've done something so many times that you develop muscle memory, you develop some of those things, you almost forget all of these steps required. And while muscle memory is good, you can't have that. You can't rely on that every time, because every scene is not a muscle memory. They're completely different, new variables. No two are exactly the same, and so I feel like with pump operating, there's a lot of tasks that do require a lot of skill. There's no doubt about it. There's also tasks that don't require a lot of skill, but we've done it so many times. It just happens. We don't realize it. We don't realize the time, right? And that's part of time management that I've learned is seeing this product come to fruition is just the amount of time we spend at panels. And I didn't even realize it. Tell us quickly about one of those studies you've done that indicated how much time was spent.
Yeah, this is something until I was actually working on my second prototype. It was almost a year into this that I never considered how much time I spent at the pump panel, but because of the automation, I was starting to wonder. What kind of prompted me to do that is I was out training with my guys on a regular fire truck. And this is after I'd been around the system for more than a year in existence, doing all the testing and development and training firefighters. And I'm out there training my own people on a standard mechanical truck. And I'm just watching this work, and I could just feel that that was horrible. Like, it's when you get into that automation side of things and you let those things go, and then you go back to a regular truck, you really realize how much time you're wasting. So we needed to put a number to that. So I just basically, we haven't done an overly scientific experiment, but this is something people can go out and do on their own. You know, go put your tank and put your truck in pump gear, put it in tank to pump, you know, get it recirculating water, charge a hose line to one pressure, charge a hose line to a second pressure, and then establish a hydrant and fill your tank. And put a stopwatch to that. See how much time that takes. Sam boiled all that down into just 3 seconds and really zero thought. So I was averaging, you know, it's going to be a little different for everything, but anywhere from 1:30 to 2 minutes, not counting filling the tank. So that's a lot of time in the first 5 minutes of a fire for an operator. You know, that's 20% of your time. So it's a really interesting concept.
Yeah, you know, by the way, we're monitoring comments too. So if anybody actually has questions as we're going throughout today, they want to throw at Jason, making sure they're actually relevant to Sam, we'll try to hit them if we can. So I did just see a couple that had come in here, and obviously I'll give some shout outs at the end to some folks watching there. But Jason, you know, I mean, you think about Sam, right? It almost sounds kind of complex to a degree, but you mentioned it really simplifies the process and the operation. I mean, how long was this in development, and what kind of challenges did you actually face, you know, kind of in the iterations of your progression?
I think the long time in development was one of the biggest challenges. How do you keep working on something that takes years before there's any type of reward? So that was a big thing, and it was just being flexible. So, you know, you start as a digital simulation, and then you get it on your first prototype, and then you have to kind of make it product ready so people can see what it looks like. So really just keeping that going and keeping it funded and staying on task. I think the other big thing was, you know, I was just a firefighter. I didn't understand how trucks were built or how governors talk to engines. And then I had to work with computer programmers, of which I also didn't know anything about. I really just knew how to pump a truck. So what I found was, you know, as I was learning the computer side of things and the fire truck side of things, I was also teaching the computer programmers how to pump a fire truck. So just dealing with all those dynamics on something that had no clear end there's no set path, right? So you have to kind of figure out your own, and that's always a challenge.
So how has SAM advanced from maybe in its infancies when you started and began with this, and really how is it truly helping fire departments today?
That's a really interesting question, because everybody sees the end product today. And when we first started this, so, you know, when I was working with St. Louis City 10s, you know, we were doing well to make it reliable. You know, I was learning how to wire fire trucks. You know, I let those guys down once or twice, you know, just because of silly mistakes of my own. But it was really about developing the software. You know, I wasn't trying to turn into a truck technician. And the software had always done really well once we introduced it into the fire ground. But that was just basic pumping. Hey, let's not run past the hydrants. Let's keep the hand lines balanced. Let's fill the tank. What's happened since, you know, Hale and Class 1 and Akron and the whole IDEX family stepped in is I've really got to see this grow. So remember at the beginning how I talked about once you get this platform on the truck, now you can really run with it. Once that is there, you have the ability to expand or be flexible. So we've really seen a ton of diagnostics. The whole system now is completely under its own control. It can diagnose itself. You don't need to hook up computers and things to mess with it. It's very replaceable. It's plug and play in pretty much every place. To see the engineering group at IDEX take that challenge on and make it something that the whole fire service can use, that was pretty cool. The next big thing I'm seeing happening is kind of that maintenance aspect. Like, they understand these are the things that have caused things to break over time. So we're integrating that type of stuff into the SAM control. So things that firemen would normally make mistakes on or just have misunderstandings, things we've all done, that's kind of gone. We want to keep stuff from breaking, the mechanical stuff from breaking. So we're doing a lot of stuff there. And then lastly, the data collection that we want to start working on. So we really want to bring information to the fire service. And now that we've got everything integrated, the sky's the limit. So I think in the future, we'll see a lot of growth there.
For people that are seeing some of these pictures come through here, tell us too, as far as, we're seeing different trucks here, but roughly, I mean, is this being put on pretty much everybody's truck, Jason? I mean, I've seen several, but it seems like every month there's more of these things out in the field. So touch on that real quick if you could.
Sure. So, I mean, it's always going to be a slow start with something like this. The first year that we weren't really selling, we needed to get product-ready trucks on the road. We've got almost a dozen of those, and most of them have been out in the field for more than a year and a half, plus my original 3 prototypes. So those have been going really well. And what's been really interesting over the last year, when we did market this and we were able to talk to customers and take new orders and get things built through the normal process, I think we're somewhere in the 30s on trucks that are actually on the road, and that's over 15 different OEMs. So that's pretty cool. A lot of different people are taking this on, accepting it, getting it through their factories, and delivering it to their customers.
Yeah, and I think one of the big things there too, Jason, right? We talked earlier in kind of our pre-conversation before here is there's more and more hitting the road every day. So that number is just growing, and you're seeing more and more interest. I think you actually said there's more than you could even imagine handling yourself, right?
Yeah, the orders coming in, we're talking to a lot of customers. We've done hundreds of demos. It's really catching on. There's a lot of specs out there, and it's everybody's private business, but I mean, we're dealing with a lot of customers right now. It's hard to really put a number on how it's growing, but you can just see when it gets into a certain area, it explodes. Like I do know in the St. Louis area, just this year where it started, where people are getting comfortable with it. I mean, it's just as many people almost that are moving to it than are not. So you're seeing there's almost a dozen trucks in this area that were either sold or going to be delivered by the end of this year, just in the St. Louis metropolitan area.
So Jason,
Wow.
You're always going to have those naysayers out there. What are some of the biggest misconceptions that they bring when they come to a demo or when they perceive something about SAM?
I think the biggest problem with the naysayers is they won't look at it. I mean, for me as a fireman, I get it. I get the culture. But since when in the fire service do we just not check something out? And it's always the naysayers that have a lot of misconceptions and they won't come look at the system. We owe it to ourselves to look for something better, whether we think it's a good idea or not, at least until we understand it, right? And then we can say no. But honestly, some of the common misconceptions when I show up to demos and people have questions or they want to say things about it or they want to see stuff, hey, prove this out. A lot of them really think it's just a pump panel on a screen. And I tell people right out of the gate, I agree with you. That's not something I would necessarily do. It's when the firefighters are there and they really understand, like, holy cow, they right in front of me, this truck just did everything that I would have to do with the panel on the fire ground. It deals with all these problems. They start to understand they can safely work around the truck and not be anchored to the panel. And everything is going to happen, more efficiently, smoothly, quickly without somebody there. And then once the force multiplier or the feeling of an extra person's on the fire ground, that's when minds start to change. They start getting over the digital side of things.
Well, and me as a pump operator before I worked with IDEX Fire and Safety, and especially with SAM, I had forgotten that I had already been relying on pressure governors that utilize, connections to my chassis, software in those governors, electric valves. we've forgotten that we use them every day. So we look at this and think that it's completely different. It's like, once I got educated, like we were just talking about, you realize, oh, maybe all these things touching water I've already used and didn't even realize it, right?
Yeah.
So that was a big learning moment for me when I got to see this for the first time. I went, oh, okay, that's great to know. I didn't realize that up front, right?
Yeah, it's a cool thing about the system. And really what you're speaking to is they see the new screen and they think there's a bunch of new stuff. And what you're referring to is that J1939 or a CAN bus network that fire trucks and engines and transmissions and ABS systems, they've been using those since the late 90s. So, we purposely decided to build on that platform, so that gives us that reliability. Now all we have to do is prove the software. And that was a great fit for IDEX, especially Class 1. They've been doing CAN bus communication with governors forever. Once my company, when I was by myself, once we proved the software and the automation was 100% perfect fit for the Fireground, it was very easy for the company to bring all that into their existing CAN bus products that they've been building for 20 years and just lay it right on top.
Yeah, and I think that's probably one of the biggest things that really resonated with me, Jason, was the fact that really there was no real new hardware. All the pieces of the puzzle were already on the truck. They've already been there, and now the biggest thing is they're all integrated together, where before they were all independent. And that integration has really allowed SAM to be developed and put into operation, because it pulls all pieces of the puzzle together.
Yep.
Yep. Definitely. Well, and for those that maybe want to talk to guys who use this every day, by all means, let us know. We'll get you in touch, because that's another just form of, okay, we've talked to the guys who build it. Let's talk to the guys who use it on their truck, in their firehouse, because that ties the gap, right? Or it closes the gap, I should say. And to me, that's just another way that we can explain why we do what we do and why we're making the fire service more efficient in this case and safer. So it's been really neat to see this all kind of transpire. I started with the company. I guess Jason and I technically started at similar periods of time, even though you'd already been doing this for years with the SAM system. So pretty neat how quickly all this has come about.
So, hey guys, if I want to know more about it, if I'm watching here today, or I see us in a couple weeks, where can I find more information out? Or I want to get a demo. How do I do it?
Samflows.com has a lot of the information you need. You can reach out to IDEX Fire and Safety Rep. We do online demos now. COVID was kind of a thing for that. We spend so much time driving around our demo truck and meeting people one at a time in a day, doing a live demo. But honestly, not a lot of new stuff has happened on the Fireground. That the fire system's built the same. We're just flowing water out of the same parts that have always been there. So you can we've got a decent online setup, so you can schedule your own private appointment. You can meet with me or another SAM expert online, and you can actually get the full presentation online, see all the features and benefits. That's been a really cool thing that the company's done. And we're probably almost at 50 or 60 online demos with firemen, and they really do they actually have a really good understanding of the system after these online presentations. So it's at least a great way to start. Only takes about an hour, and you can schedule it whenever you want.
Jason, that's great. It's been great information you shared here today, and it's been great having you with us in the jump seat. I really do appreciate it. As you guys can see there at the bottom of the screen, for more information, visit samflows.com, as Jason just mentioned. You can schedule demos, I think, on there. You can watch some videos on the system. When you schedule a demo, you can reach out to Jason or your local IDEX Fire and Safety Rep. So
that's right. And I actually have the privilege. I'll have the truck here starting this weekend for a week. So anybody in the Midwest region, give me a shout. I will do my best to be there. I wish I could be everywhere at once. I can't be, but try and catch you if possible. If not, we'll write you down for next time, no doubt. And like Jason said, these webinars are actually pretty impressive. So I've joined several myself, and guys seem to really enjoy them. So if nothing else, we can get that going.
Jason, thank you again for joining us in the jump seat. We really appreciate your time today. And John, I'll let you kind of take us home here and wrap it up.
Yeah, sounds good, Dave. Thank you. And as always, it's good to hit on different parts of what we do every day. And this being a topic of importance, it's been a big focus for our company, and really carving out an interesting piece in the market and providing value that we haven't provided before. So yeah, great information from Jason, like you said. And yeah, for those who watch regularly, just thanks for joining us again. And you can find and share this through Facebook, as well as YouTube, as well as our IDEX Fire and Safety blog. And feel free to throw some comments in there if you want to see future episodes or future focus areas. Let us know. We're always looking to grow and expand the message. So if nothing else, I hope everybody has a safe weekend, and we'll see you next Friday in the jump seat again.
Absolutely.
So,
Thanks.
take care, everybody, and be safe.
We'll see you all next week. Thanks, guys.